country there.
Welcome back. We are continuing our coverage of this, the historic inauguration of US President Barack Obama.
We are now joined by a new panel, US expat public relations specialist Kathy Cunningham, who is a registered Republican, and John DeRocha, who is the US Consul General here in Auckland, and also Tracy Barnett is back with us.
With cupcakes.
She came in for the cupcakes.
Let's go to our registered Republican first, Kathy, because
you lost.
You lost.
Good for that.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Because there doesn't seem to be a downtrodden face in Washington, or indeed America at the moment.
I'd say the world. I mean, even with registered Republicans living anywhere in the world, yes, it's a generational thing, everyone is celebrating. I still think it's a global wish that there's hope, that there is change, that people are cheering for Barack Obama all over the world, and it doesn't matter what race, color, creed, or registered party you're with. And that's exciting.
That's exceptional.
It is historical. Never have I or my parents or people I've spoken with experienced anything like this.
John, it's almost reaching that point where I think people are beginning to think that Obama's just going to say what he wants to do and wave the wand and it'll all magically happen. But the American government doesn't work quite like that, does it?
No.
What can he do and what does he need to do in order to make anything happen?
Well, no, it doesn't quite work like that. It's a bit more of a different sort of challenge in our system than in a parliamentary system like you have here, and he's got to build relationships in Congress with both sides to get what he wants done to get that stuff through. I mean, he's clearly a very persuasive guy, and he has won a clear victory and has a mandate. And so, you know, I think
he really has to push that mandate, doesn't he? Because Congress is made up of individuals who all require funding to get into Congress and do their campaigns. There's lots of lobbying. There's lots of all that. So does he really need to kind of make sure that he says, if we don't do these things, the people who voted us in will vote us out?
Yeah, I think he will be very clear about the mandate that he thinks he's been given, and he's served in the Senate. He knows how it works. People have already been impressed how during this transition period, how much cooperation, how much reaching through Congress there has already been, even before he was sworn in.
Oliver, I think one of the things that's been really unusual about this transition is usually when the two guys run against each other, they don't want to see each other for the next 2 years, and they traditionally haven't. They've kind of gone behind closed doors and never talked to each other again. But what Barack Obama did is he did what seemed like a lovely PR gesture, which he invited McCain to the transition office in Chicago 2 weeks after he lost. They did the nice little PR pictures, but what really happened is Obama then started consulting him on some of his transition choices, very proactively, so much so that one of the guys, Dennis Blair, who he chose for national intelligence, who happens to be the guy, an admiral who water skied behind his Navy destroyer in the 80s. I love that. This is the guy for national intelligence. But anyway, McCain had some doubts about him, and Obama basically addressed those doubts to Blair, and then fired the answers back to McCain to see if he, this just isn't lip service. This is actually good politics. He's not a stupid man.
Yeah, no.
John McCain, he's going to have to work with in the Senate, and he's doing this
I guess
the
it's
right
a
way.
feeling that they have to do that.
Exactly.
There's not a lot of choice. Well, in his inauguration speech, Barack Obama had a message not only for American people, but for people all around the world. Let's listen again.
Our founding fathers, faced with perils that we can scarcely imagine, drafted a charter to assure the rule of law and the rights of man, a charter expanded by the blood of generations. Those ideals still light the world, and we will not give them up for expedience sake. And so, to all the other peoples and governments who are watching today, from the grandest capitals to the small village where my father was born, know that America is a friend of each nation and every man, woman, and child who seeks a future of peace and dignity, and we are ready to lead once more.
Tracy, there's been the words sort of go with Obama. He's the first African-American president. He's making history. But how significant is this to your mind?
Actually, one thing I just wanted to comment about at that quote, which I thought was really interesting in the speech, is that what Obama is actually kind of jonesing for here is peace. And that's really, I know people pay, again, it seems kind of like a hyperbole and what inaugurations are supposed to be about. But he actually wrote this into his plan, and this from a man who's got 2 wars on his hands. And I think that's fairly significant. He talked about your people will judge you on what you can build, not what you destroy, and that America wants to be a friend of each nation. And
he also talked about the fact that, you know, he can see the lines of the tribes disappearing, and that there will come a time when there will be, you know,
He talked about a patchwork state, didn't he?
Yeah, well just that all of the different ones, that it can't sustain, that we can't go on like that.
right. And I think it's actually a hopeful thing also to hear this phrase that America needs to temper this quality of humility and restraint is one of the phrases that he uses again. And I think what he's trying to say is America isn't necessarily going to be the big stick in the world, and I hope that's what he's saying.
Okay, so stay with us, everybody, because news headlines are coming up shortly. But next,
Hollywood goes to Washington. We look at the star-studded lineup with none other than Nelson, of course.